just a moment. And then, of course, around the Tri-Cities where Interstate 80 has been closed as well. So here's a look at Interstate 80 around Kearney. As you can see, well, there's pavement there, but it's probably slippery. And Meteorologist Kit Cloninger told us a few minutes ago that it looks like Interstate 80 will be opening back up here in the next, 10 to 20 minutes or so. He can give us an update on that. In the meantime, looking at the next week coming, pretty chilly out there with Sunday, the warmest day of the weekend, then upper 30s coming out in a week from now. But other than that, sandwiched right in between, a lot of chilly weather and overnight temperatures back in the single digits. Tomorrow night will be a little kind of chilly as well. Now, some of these watches and warnings have been scaled back here. Like this winter storm warning back has been scaled back to the southwestern part of the state. Blizzard warnings are still in effect overnight tonight, as well as up to the north. So that's still in effect. Here's a look at the snow starting to taper off pretty much from north to south, west of Highway 183. As we zoom in here, here's Valentine, so Cherry County, all the way back down to around just to the west of Broken Bow. But if you're in Broken Bow, you might see a little bit more snow. Over the last 12 hours, here's how the Tri-Cities look, starting out with heavy rain, switched over a little bit of sleet and freezing drizzle, and then we switched over to snow. So I want to bring in Storm Chaser 4, Meteorologist Kit Cloninger. And Kit, you've been tracking Interstate 80. You drove to Kearney on Interstate 80 earlier today before it closed down. I think now you're southbound on 281. Talk about quickly the conditions on Interstate 80 earlier today, and then how the current conditions are heading down towards Hastings.
Well, earlier today, Tim, most of the road conditions on Interstate 80 and all through Kearney County and Buffalo County, most of the conditions were quite variable. That's the best way I can describe them. Sometimes I'd have nearly a full mile of visibility, and then I'd come into a squall of wind, which would be blowing snow, and it reduced visibilities to less than 50 feet in front of me at times. So road conditions also just as variable, sometimes clear, sometimes covered with about snow at times. But right now I'm southbound on 281, just north of Hastings, just about to cross into the Adams County line, actually. And road conditions still just as treacherous. There's been a lot more ice developing as people have driven over more of the snowpack through the day. And the winds still gusting every once in a while, reducing visibilities. Right as you tossed to me, Tim, there was a gust of wind, and I'm coming into a little bit more of flying snow. I'll be in Kearney or in Hastings in just a little bit, but for now, I'll send it back into Tim Jones.
Yeah, and Kit, that's great advice, because as you can see, as he was driving south on 281, it looks like there's tracks where the wheels have driven, but in between there's still some snow, and a lot of that is still somewhat icy, so plenty of stopping distance is required. And we talked going out of the break into coming into this segment about how chilly it's going to be. Of course, we saw that in the 7-day forecast, already down in the teens in many places. Now back to the east, we're still holding on to the 20s. Off to the west, we still have some 20s, but it is very blustery out there, to say the least, and we won't move much off the teens, but we'll start in the low teens in the morning. Notice the winds stay very gusty as well, so that will give us a wind chill. It's going to feel much colder out there, and of course definitely chilly conditions, and we will hold on to the winds tomorrow through most of the day before they start to back off. And as we look at our highs for the day tomorrow, well, not very impressive, to say the least. If you like the winter weather and like what we've had and want some colder temperatures, well, this forecast is for you through many places. Now, most of us will continue to see northwesterly winds at least 10 to 15 miles per hour off to the west. Here, a little stronger. They won't start to back off until the latter part of the afternoon into the evening. But taking a look around Custer County and Broken Bow, this is one of the spots that tends to get a lot of wind and a lot of snow. And joining us by phone now is Ty Havranek. You might know him from his KHS radio days here in Hastings, now with KBear Radio up in Broken Bow. And Ty, if you're on the phone with us, first of all, thanks for joining us. You have some video that you're sharing with us from earlier today, and tell us about the conditions, what you experienced in Broken Bow over the last 12 hours or so.
Well, Tim, it's my pleasure to join you guys over here on the Local4 weather team, and you take a look at just some of the conditions that we've had. It really kind of all started last night, in fact, with the rain that had started to come down, and that, we had a really good rain. That, of course, provided a little sheet of ice underneath all of this snow. The snow started to fall a little bit after 1 o'clock this morning, and really it did not stop at any point throughout the day until maybe a little bit after, shortly after 4 o'clock, nearing the 5 o'clock hour. Maybe the snow started taper off here in the Broken Bow community. But at points, Tim, we had about upwards of an inch that was falling per hour here. So just a really, really strong storm system that came through the area today.
Yeah, Ty, I haven't seen any official storm reports or snowfall reports, and it's hard to estimate with the winds blowing that snow around, but can you venture a guess with how much snow maybe you got, just generally speaking?
I think, it would be fair to guess that we are probably around the 8 to 12 inches of snowfall total. I'm like you, Tim. I haven't seen any official word yet in regards to snowfall total, but I think a pretty good estimate here for this particular area is going to be right around kind of what they were calling for, right around that 8 inches to a foot range.
All right, you've been in, real quick, we only have about 15, 20 seconds. You've been in Broken Bow for a little over a year now, I believe. Compare that very quickly to the storms in Broken Bow and Custer County to what they're like when you've experienced storms in the past in the Hastings area.
Well, the thing that you were mentioning, Tim, is just about the wind here in the Custer County area. There's just a lot more open areas here, and so there's just a lot more drifting. There's not a lot of places for the snow to go, so it'll travel across fields and before it finally comes. And then it's like, as you mentioned and talked about, it's the wind, it's the drifts that really make these storms a little bit more impactful, a little bit more dangerous than in the Tri-Cities area.
That's Ty Havranek, KBear Radio in Broken Bow. Ty, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have more news coming up after the break, so stay with us.